Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Jay from Keeping It Real, your arbiter of gaming news and commentary, hitting you off with a studio production video where you know this is your channel, where all gamers' voices are heard. With your boy Jay, always dropping the word. Keeping them other gaming YouTubers like, what you heard? And where you always know, we always keep it all the way real. So what's going on, everybody? I just want to thank you all for checking out my studio production video today. And man, your boy is back in effect. Yeah, I'm sorry for the past couple of days. I know for those of you who are used to my regular content every single day, I had to pay some bills and take care of some few things. You guys know I'm a family guy, so so some things I had to take care of and do, and I just didn't really have time to get to my videos like I usually do. But don't trip, I'm back on the scene, and I'm twice as mean. So yeah, man, this one's gonna be pretty interesting video, man. It looks like there's been some news about Sony and their finances, man, and what's going on. Of course, I got this linked in the description for you guys to check out. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already checked this out with this 63.3 million PS4 ship on Sony by June 30th. The PlayStation revenue increases, but income drops. Okay, so I wanted to dig into that from my angle and let you guys know the real problem that Sony's not really talking about, and dig into that, because of course, like always, I have my angle that I look at what's going on, and I think this report is very telling about the circumstances that Sony has put themselves in. And when you go through and read it, a lot of it's like, you got to decode this crap, just looking at and reading to see what the hell it's supposed to mean. So, man, I'm going to go ahead and break it down in layman's terms like usual. And also just put the things together to paint the picture of exactly what's going on with Sony right now and the circumstances when it comes to the gaming market overall. So, man, first of all, I'm going to start out with Sony has done a good job with their sales numbers, and part of that good job is in a way of kind of like, if you really think about it, tricking people into thinking that sales numbers of a hardware is everything. Like that's where the misconception is. Like, of course, sales numbers is a big indication of growth in a company. When it comes to their hardware, that's a great thing. But we all know the hardware is at a loss. The software is where they really make the money. Now, these days in the industry, the big thing that has been huge within the last 5 years and increasingly getting bigger and bigger is services. And games that are service type games that are continuing to be expanded upon with DLC and new content that just keeps flowing in. And these games that are gonna be lasting for 5 years or more are becoming the new norm nowadays. Now, and that has to be something that's based on a platform that provides you with a great internet connection, a great network to establish all of your services off of, and that's with good voice and chat communication. That's with good networking communication, and with the servers, and investing into updates on your UI and all that good stuff. All that stuff has to all do with the services and software. And that's a major pivotal factor, especially moving forward into the future. It's becoming more and more. Gone are the days where we just kind of buy a game and it pretty much is what it is, and you just play it and then you move on. Like, those days are gone. Now it's all about DLC. Now it's all about constantly being updated. Games are constantly being changed. It's all about you being in a shared world with other people, connecting with other people, playing with other people, chatting with other people. So games more and more these days is more like social media, where it's a constant, these games are constantly getting service and they're constantly evolving and changing as the game gets older, as opposed to what it used to be is you buy a game as it is and that's all you got. So because of that, we have to look at the standpoint of where Sony has placed themselves. And if you really dig into the numbers and really just dig into the facts of what Sony has done in this generation moving forward, they have done a good job where they've got the units out. But the analogy I would like to use is like this. Imagine if you were to get the greatest cable box ever. And it's a great cable box, right? I mean, it's the best. They got DVR, you can fast forward, you can rewind, you can do all these incredible things with it, right? So you go and buy the cable box and you're happy with it. But then you start flipping through the channels and you realize, wait a minute, it only has 10 channels. So you're like, well, what's up with the service? What's up? What the hell's up with this? Like, it's cool that, damn, man, this cable box is banging. It's great. I like it. But I mean, it only has 10 channels. Then you call up the cable company. You like, hey, man, what the hell's up with this, man? Why I only got 10 channels? And they say to you, well, yeah, you only have 10 channels for now, but we promise you we're going to be bringing you a lot more great channels. And check out these commercials for our new content that's coming up. And then you check it out and you like, dang, man, that's some banging shows, man. I can't wait to see those. So you like, oh man, that's definitely worth the wait. So you wait and you wait. 2 weeks go past, a month go past, 2 months go past, 3 months. And you're like, man, now where the hell's all those? And then you see one little show pop out. And then you're like, okay, that's cool. But man, what about all these other shows that they was promising? Okay, a year go past. Now you into the next year and you still sitting there waiting for all these shows, man. You like, okay, I got this, but where's like I got limited service. I don't really have that many channels. And I'm like, okay, this cable box is cool, but what's up with the channels and the limited service, man? And I'm still waiting. They keep putting out these commercials that this stuff is coming, but I'm still sitting here waiting. To me, that's a perfect analogy of what Sony has done. It's like they did good on selling all these people the console. That's great, but they haven't done good on bringing you the service and the software. Now there will be a lot that'll say, well, wait a minute. No, you're totally wrong on that. Like, look at how many games that Sony has out, especially this year. I mean, they put out all these great games. Well, you think about this. Look at what Sony said, even when it comes to that you could read it yourself. They didn't even consider any of these games big games. The biggest game that they've had was Uncharted. The other games were just like, they used that as a reason of why the sales have kind of declined, and that, things are slowing down is because, well, they didn't really have any huge games this time around. Now, a lot of you would be like, well, wait a minute, isn't Horizon Dawn a huge game? And that's what I may say too, but when it comes to Sony's like, no, not really. That was what their reason was. And if you really look at it right now, from what Sony says, their biggest game was Uncharted, which is, I think that's pretty much undeniable. I mean, it did what, 9 million? So I can see where they can say that, but it's like I said before, they don't have too many Uncharteds. It's not like they got a lot of those just hanging around. A lot of these big games that a lot of fanboys like to tout, like Nioh and Nier Automata and those type of games, they didn't sell anything. Like, and that's a sad reality. Like, if you really think about it. Now, of course, Sony is huge in Japan too, but all these millions and millions of consoles. You think about this. They supposedly have 60 million consoles out. Why is Nier Automata and Nioh doing less than 1 million? You think about that. Think about how much sense does that make? There's something wrong there. Connect the dots. There's something hugely wrong when you got millions of consoles And okay, you get your exclusive games and they don't even crack 1 million. Something's wrong. And these are supposed to be the big games that, you know, a lot of these fanboys are touting like they're everything. So, you know, they're the best thing since sliced bread. And the thing is about that is you got to understand is that that's why you're getting this report the way you're getting it. That's the elephant in the room that Sony's not really talking about. They don't really have the services and they don't really have the software to really engage people. You really think about this. If they really had it, if those games were all that much, people will be buying them, but they're not. Let's just face it, they're not. I mean, if it's not even cracking 1 million and you got 1 million, if you got 1 million consoles out, you got supposedly 60 million consoles out there. And I say supposedly because I don't think they're actually so cracked 60 million sold. I think that, you know, it's getting there, or in the report it says it's about there. But what does all that mean if the people are not buying their games? That's their problem. What does it mean to have all those consoles? If you really think about what's happening, is people's buying it and they're sitting on them. They might have been tricked into buying them, but they're not really playing the games on it. They're not playing. So what does it matter if you get the cable box and then you get tired of the lack of service on it and you just you take it out and put it in a corner? Does it matter anymore? It's a cable box that's built to actually give service and actually continue to be used, but people are not using it because obviously when it comes to the sales, people are not buying the stuff that's coming out on it. So they must not be that much excited about it because they're not buying these games. Again, like always, the most games that are being brought are multiplats. Those are the games that are selling, multiplats. So the thing is you got to understand that a big part of this, where Sony is in trouble, is when it comes to their services and when it comes to their ability to have their exclusives be sold and do well. And that's coupled with the fact that, you know, they haven't really done a lot this generation to really update any of their services. And, you know, they've mostly, especially within this year, they just kind of coasted. You know, the first of this year, they got some of their delayed games out that they had, and as you see what they did in E3, they just basically ran the same thing they did last year. They just been basically coasting and hoping everything's gonna be all right and buying up every marketing deal they can possibly buy up. But the fact is, you know, that's still looking that it's not doing all that well for them. And a big part of that is, like, you know, you think about this. One of the things that, I mean, people damage control all they want, but their streaming service for games is a failure, man. In any way you want to slice it or dice it. It's for people to have to pay for games they already have, and also for people to get games that is going to have a lot of internet lag, and it has to basically depend on how well their internet is. Like that's a failure, man. You can put it any way you want, but it's a failure. And to try to damage control it and try to make it like it's all okay is just a travesty, because the fact is, this is the reason why Sony's not getting better, because you know you got the media trying to damage control for them, and or just not report it, the problems that they have, and then you got fanboys out here sitting out there doing that same thing. And the fact is, when it comes to the casuals, the people who don't care about none of that, they just ain't buying the stuff that the Sony's selling, their exclusives. Let's just keep it real. If it didn't crack 1 million, how well did it do? Especially on a supposedly 60 million unit install base, and your exclusives don't even crack 1 million. There's some problems there, man. And this is what Sony's kind of pointing to when they're saying, we didn't really have any big hitters. They even said it themselves. They admitted it. Yeah, we didn't have any big hitters, and things is on that side is not so good right now. We need another Uncharted. And and that's what I mean. They don't even consider well, if you look at the numbers, of course you wouldn't consider it either when it comes to Horizon Dawn. I mean, it was a good game, but come on, let's keep it real. It didn't do nowhere near Uncharted numbers. So the fact is, what it comes down to is that's that is the problem with Sony right now. The problem with Sony right now is they haven't really invested into their services, and they're going to see that's going to come back and bite them in the ass. Because when they thought that they could just kind of just sail by, on the media helping them out and always trying to back them up, they're going to see even that's going to start to falter. And it's already showing signs that it is. The media is already starting to call them out here and there. And soon, even the media is going to be turning on them, and it's going to be holding their feet to the fire as they should have been doing this whole generation. But hey, you got to start somewhere. And it's already starting to happen little by little. Sure enough, little by little, the signs are already adding up. Because it's like I said before, as soon as it becomes not really so much profitable to hate on Xbox, the media ain't gonna hate on Xbox no more. That's what it comes down to. As soon as it becomes not so profitable, where they can't get a bunch of clicks, because it's when it gets to the point that even people are just going to be calling out the media for hating on Sony or hating on Microsoft, because Microsoft is doing something for the gamers. They're listening to gamers, and when people start calling them out, the media out for that, the media is going to have to respond. And even they're going to have to see, yeah, Sony, what are you doing for the gamers? At some point, they're going to have to ask that question. And when they ask that question, it's going to be like, yeah, not a whole lot. And what is Microsoft doing? A whole lot. Damn near everything. And you got to understand, the X ain't even out yet. Look at what's coming out when it comes to the X, where you got these developers coming out and saying, even Ubisoft, this whole thing with Ubisoft and them saying, hey man, it's at real true 4K from all the way through. Even though we have it on dynamic 4K, this thing is so powerful, it stays at 4K. And a lot of the haters was talking all that crap. Now they got egg on their face. But this is something that people like me said from the beginning. The console is not out yet. Chill your jets, man. The console ain't out yet, man. Developers don't even have the full dev kits yet of the full capabilities of what the X can do just yet. So chill. It's like trust and believe. It's going to be a dominant force when it releases. And there's already a lot of signs that a lot of people are holding back and waiting. Now soon the reserves are going to be in. I already got mine ready to reserve. I'm probably going to get at least 3 of them. And for my family, everybody and their mama right now in my family want an X right now, of course. And you got to think how many people are going to be getting 4K TVs this year, and they wouldn't want to also on top of that get a 4K Blu-ray player. It's bang bang. You got it all right there, and a supreme and the most powerful gaming console. If you think that's not going to sell to casual people, you crazy. You know what I mean? If you think a console that's backwards compatible to everything, and also a console that has a service like Game Pass on it, man, you can get the console and already have over 100 games already ready to go just with $10. If you think that ain't gonna be appealing to casuals, you a damn fool. You better ask somebody, man. You dead wrong. It's just not. It's anybody who thinks that. Now Phil keep walking around talking about hardcore gamers, and he can say what he wants. That's fine. That's his opinion. But the fact is, it's obvious that this thing is for everybody. And I've been saying this from the start. There's so many people that have a lackluster computer, and they would love, if it's for the right price, to have a console that can be closest to the PC that it can possibly be in graphic fidelity. And that's the X. A lot of those people, they now have a bridge forward. They don't now have to be feeling like, the consoles are just so underwhelming. Now they can be like, man, shoot, this has everything I need for a console. It gives me a mix of the both. Gives me the high power I could expect or want in a PC, and give me that quality, and it also gives me the ease of a console where it's just really easy to use. And I don't have to worry about all the, repairs and upgrading this and that, and, and all those other issues that comes along with, with a PC. And it looks like all the things about what I've been saying, and a lot of other folks who was up on it and knew what was going on has been saying from the start. And it's an exciting time just to be a gamer in general. Now, I would say on the flip side, if you look at Microsoft when it comes to its exclusives, it's a very similar story. Being fair and looking at both sides, Microsoft's exclusives hasn't really sold incredibly well either. I think some of its exclusives has gotten the shaft. Like, I can bring to mind Ori and the Blind Forest. I mean, incredible game. Games like that, or even games like Sunset Overdrive, incredible games. A lot of times it's because of biased media downplaying the games or finding any little thing they can to try to shoot it in the foot. But even putting that aside, just in general, Xbox's exclusives could have done better. They just didn't do as good either. But what is the difference? The difference is Xbox has always provided a quality, stellar service for their platform. They've always provided, always updating their services in their network over and over again. And what has happened is, unlike with Sony, when people buy an Xbox, they stick around for the service and they play and they utilize it in so many other ways. See, the thing that Xbox got a lot of grief for when it first launched, like things like TV and things like, Skype and all these things that it can do, a lot of people back then didn't see the future in that. They yawned and said, oh, who cares? I'm all about the games. And then Sony just capitalized on that. And that's what they all been about. Even though people like me was like, no, what Sony is doing is they're making their weakness their strength. Because the fact was, that was a weakness of Sony, that Sony didn't offer all those cool services, and their console wasn't as intuitive and expansive when it comes to networking and when it comes to the media and television. They just didn't have all of that. So since they didn't have all that, they tried to make it look like it was a good thing they didn't have it by just saying, oh, look, we're for the games. And that's, to me, I always seen that as some BS, man. And it's very evident when you see it now that all of a sudden now they got PlayStation TV, and if they were all about the games, why are they doing that? Why are they trying to do TV? Think about it. If they're so much about the games and that's all they care about, well, it seems like they changed their philosophy, because now they're about TV and they're trying to do all these other things that Microsoft has been doing for years, but they since now been trying to do that. Now, nowhere near as good, but they're trying. So that tells you right there, Microsoft from the beginning always had the future in mind. They were always set in the right place. I just think they were a little early before their time. A lot of gamers at that point in time just didn't get it. They just didn't really, they didn't really understand that. And I think a big problem to that also was that the console was underpowered. Giving Sony that slight edge in graphical performance, I think that was a big thing also too that really hurt them, because they should have came out with the most, if not the most powerful console, at least equally powerful, so where there wasn't really any actual measurable graphical difference. Now, if they would have did that, that would have went a long way to change things, make things completely different. And also, if they just would have made sure they had it at the same price point of $400, those two things would have made a huge difference in the numbers of Microsoft, and and also just their image. But I digress. The past is the past. But now looking into the future, you got to understand that Microsoft has built themselves as a service powerhouse at this point. And now with the introduction of the X, they're finally executing the last final piece of that. The most powerful console that's going to be able to have all the greatest version of all multiplats, which are the biggest sellers of software, is multiplats. So now they're executing the final piece in this next half. And it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to shake up, because at this point, Sony is kind of welling, at this point, because they haven't really built a good service foundation for themselves. They haven't really, their games are still, hopefully they're going to be coming out real soon. You know, things like God of War is going to be coming out on time, and games like Days Gone is going to be coming out on time. We don't have any dates on these games. God of War, I think, is supposed to come out next year, but that's if it's not delayed 1,000,001 times. We know how many times Uncharted was delayed. So these are the things that we're looking at. You know, games like Death Stranded that didn't even get a showing this year at E3, and we probably won't see until at least 2 to 3 years. Probably, you know, definitely won't see a release until 2 to 3 years, maybe more. Who knows? We don't really know. No one knows for sure. And the fact is, right now, you know, Microsoft has that momentum. It has that win in its sales right now when it comes to service. And now it's completing a piece with the most powerful console that's going to give the best graphical fidelity and steady frame rate. You know, what does Sony have? You know, do you even hear? I mean, the Pro is an afterthought at this point. You know, so, and the VR, I mean, come on, get out of here. I mean, Sony didn't even bring the Pro or VR up and didn't even want to discuss the numbers on the Pro and VR. So that tells you a lot. So the fact is, looking forward, it's pretty telling how everything is shaping up. The work that Microsoft has put into their network and their services over time, developing things like Game Pass, developing things like Mixer, you know, bringing avatars back with the X having full backwards compatibility. It's just everything they're doing is for fan service and for the gamers. And, you know, of course, I still have my differences here and there, but overall, no one can say that Microsoft ain't killing it when it comes to listening to gamers and providing them with what gamers want. No one can say that. And the thing is that it's setting up just as what I said. In this report with Sony kind of proves that regardless of all these numbers that they sell, if they're not building that on a platform, a foundation that has expanded services and an investment into network, then you're not going to be saying very much, because what can they really speak for? Their exclusives. Their exclusives are far in between, and a lot of them are games in the future. And when it comes to actual games that they're exclusives that they're having, just like Microsoft, they're not selling all that well. But unlike Microsoft, they don't have anything for the future to remedy that, other than for you to just sit there and wait for their games whenever these games possibly might come out. That's all the Sony people or Sony players have to look to, just to wait till whenever the games come out. They don't have a broad service and network to enjoy, and all these services on their platform. They're still getting sold short with PlayStation Now. You know what I mean? I mean, that's all they and getting cut out of being able to play crossplay with many of the other games with Microsoft and Nintendo. I mean, these are the things that's happening, you know, and it's going to get to a point where even the media is going to start calling this out. And I'm talking about big media sites. Now, we already seen some movement in the media and some changes, and I think that's going to get more and more. You see GameSpot doing a lot of education videos on anti-aliases and on 4K. Like they're trying to do a lot of different things where they're trying to show you the differences of stuff, and I think a lot of that stuff is getting ready for the X, if you really think about it, because they want people to understand, hey, what are the differences, and be educated so you know what's going on. And I think that's really cool. I don't think GameSpot has to do that, but they are, and I think that's really cool. Now, of course, you got Digital Foundry and a lot of other sites that does these things too, but for a major site like GameSpot to do that's starting to tell you some things. You know what I mean? Like they're setting themselves up to say, hey, we want people to be educated on what's going on, because that tells you right there that when they come out with stories saying what the Xbox X can do that the PS4 Pro can't do, they want you to already have a video to reference back, so you could already know what the hell's going on. You can know the differences of what things are and what they do. when it comes to super sampling and when it comes to anti-aliases and all those things. When they say these things in these videos, when they do the comparisons, they want you to know what's going on. So that's pretty cool. And that's something that we haven't really gotten before. If you really think about it, we haven't gotten that before. And if you don't think it ain't gonna be a huge deal when the X comes out and sites like GameSpot and IGN and Digital Foundry start really digging into the details of the differences between the versions of the Xbox X, the Xbox One S, and the X and the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, when they start looking at the comparisons, you don't think they ain't gonna be doing those videos? Of course they are. Of course they are, because they know that's big clicks too. See, and that's where the money's gonna be. And it's gonna be, and you're gonna think who's gonna be on top of that every time? The Xbox X. Every time it's gonna be on top. Every time. So if you really think about that, that's gonna be a huge thing moving forward. And if you don't think that ain't gonna change how the media thinks of things, when they start really digging into the details of what the X can do, start seeing that it's just a monster. It's a beast, dude. Just like what they said. You don't think they ain't gonna realize that, hey man, we gonna do videos to the endum to now and to kingdom come on this. Of course they are, because they gonna see that's where the money's at. They gonna see that's where the clicks is at. People want to know. People want to see the differences. People want, that's just what it's about. So if anyone who's thinking like this is gonna kind of like, the Xbox is gonna go away in a night, you know what I mean? Man, you're so dead wrong. You might want to wake up, get from under that cave, and open your eyes and pay attention to what's happening. Because, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And it's all there for anybody who just wants to be fair about it and just wants to use their actual head and use common sense and not be a robot and just talking points. When you just want to pay attention and connect the dots and actually you do your own research and pay attention and look at what's going on and be fair about it, and just speak from the facts of what's going on, then you will see it just like anybody else would. Because it's pretty obvious of what's actually happening, what's going on. So, yeah, man, that's my rant for this, man. I don't want to even hit it on the 30 mark. I've been out for a while, man, so I just thought I wanted to wrap up a lot of my thoughts on things and what was going on. Like always, I want you guys to go ahead and hit me in the comment box, see what you think. But that's pretty much my spiel on that, and for some of the recent news and what's going on, all wrapped up into one big old crazy stupid rant. So yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out. Man, I want you guys to go ahead, like I said, hit me up. I would like to hear you guys.
This is Jay. I'm always keeping it real, and I'm gone.